Welcome to Conversations. My name is Suresh Kuchar. Today we're going to talk about an incident that has upset many families, many youngsters, and even the Indian industry. The tragic death of a 26-year-old Indian employee at the leading accounting firm E&Y has ignited a serious debate about workplace culture and employee welfare in corporate environments. Before we get into the story, I would like you to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell of our YouTube channel. Anna Sebastian Pereira, a chartered accountant at Ernst & Young, or E&Y as it's popularly known, died in July, 4 months after joining the firm. She was employed in the Pune branch of E&Y. Her parents have alleged that the overwhelming work pressure at her new job took a toll on her health and led to her death. E&Y has actually refuted the entire allegation as was expected, saying that Pereira was allotted a work like any other employee and they didn't believe that the work pressure could have claimed her life. Well, E&Y could have been more diplomatic. They could have just kept quiet or even done any conversation in private with the family. They didn't have to go public. But anyway, that's a corporate culture of E&Y, mostly coming from the abroad, the branches abroad, or the bosses sitting in US and other places. Anna's death has resonated deeply, a sparkling discussion, hustle, a culture that is promoted in many corporates and startups. A work ethic that prioritizes productivity, often at the expense of the employee well-being. We've seen that in many industries where youngsters are pushed to the wall to put in long hours of work, and if they don't do it, they're considered unfit and even kind of mocked at. It's common knowledge that employees in many sectors, including information technology, pharma, media, banking, and other sectors, put in long hours of work, especially at the entry stage. A few months ago, there were rumors abound that many IT companies in Bengaluru were proposing a 12 to 14-hour work schedule for its employees. That proposal was roundly berated, and the Karnataka government and many IT companies in Bengaluru denied that any such proposal was on the table. Some argue that this culture drives innovation and growth, with many choosing extra hours out of passion and ambition. Well, that is kind of one side of the story. Well, others say that the employees are often pressurized by the management, leading to a burnout and a diminished quality of life. That is another aspect of it. Anna's death came under the spotlight after a letter was written by her mother, Anita Agustin, to EY that went viral on the social media. In this letter, Anna's mother detailed the alleged pressures that her daughter had experienced at work, including working late into the night and weekends, and appealed to EY to reflect on its work culture and take steps to prioritize employees' health. In fact, something that Anna's mother had explained in detail in the letter was that she refused to even eat because that was considered a non-priority. And many often the PG where she was staying didn't have food after 10 o'clock in the night. And naturally, over a period of time, this kind of toxic kind of work culture will take a toll on anybody's health, not just Anna's. In fact, Anna's experience sheds light on a work culture that seems to glorify overwork while neglecting the very human beings behind the roles, Anna's mother wrote. The relentless demands from managers, in many cases, we know this ourselves, to meet the pressure of unrealistic expectations, especially in a field like where Anna was, where auditing is the most important thing, and they have a period in the year where they are chock-a-block with work because they need to finish auditing. There's nothing called tomorrow. I myself have experienced this when I joined Times of India in my early years in Bangalore, way back in the late 80s. I mean, as a youngster, and especially when you're in a small team, you're expected to put in a lot of hours. And we do it because we want to learn more, we want to do more, we want to be seen as good boys or good girls in the eyes of the management. But these relentless demands and the pressure to meet unrealistic expectations are not sustainable. And in this case, they cost the life of a young woman with so much potential. She was a topper in her class, topper in college, a young chartered accountant. And this is what happened to her. In fact, many people condemned EY for its toxic work culture, sharing their experiences on Twitter and LinkedIn. One user even alleged that he had been made to work 20 hours a day at a top consultancy firm without being paid overtime. So it's not just EY. Many other companies do the same thing. And many youngsters who want to work in consultancy companies often learn the grass is always greener on the other side. And this is what happens to them, and the burnout is there. It happens even in insurance sectors, where employees are given unrealistic targets to meet, And if they don't do it, they're simply sacked. Now we learned that the Pune firm of E&Y did not even have the mandatory Labour Department registration. That is even more surprising. For a company that is supposed to have certain SOPs in place, this simply was not there. Work culture in India is horrid. Pay is dismal. Exploitation is maximum. These are the words of some of the youngsters on LinkedIn. There are zero repercussions and no remorse on part of the employers who routinely harass workers. Many managers, in fact, are often praised and promoted for slave driving their juniors and extracting the maximum work. Overworking and underpaying their employees seems to be the mantra of many companies in India, including international companies who have got their outfits in India, their kind of branches in India, their GCC in India. And this is what is worrying. The main reason why many software majors set up campuses in India is because of the cost arbitrage. Indian employees get paid a fraction of what their counterparts in US or Europe get paid. Now, in fact, United Kingdom is proposing to bring in a law that will ban companies from calling or even contacting employees after their working hours. Now, that's the other end of it. Not many in UK will stand up to this, and in fact, many of the businesses will get out of UK into other countries, and that will simply be a loss for United Kingdom itself. China, India, and other companies will simply take away that business. In fact, this is why we need to draw a kind of a balance. You can't go to the extreme of UK, at the same time you can't do what is being done in India. While we respect the laws are there in different places, we need to ensure that the employees get kind of at least a counseling center. They say there are existing counseling centers, there are kind of, buddy system in many places, but one hardly gets to know that. Working long hours is the only mantra in India, because that is the only way many Indian companies, including international companies, make money, make profits. Otherwise, there's no reason for them to be in India. A former EY employee, in fact, criticized the work culture of the firm, alleged that employees are often mocked when they're leaving on time and shamed for enjoying weekends. Now, it's unfair to blame EY alone for this, as a number of other organizations in India do exactly the same. And I can name them by the dozen, but I don't want to do it in this forum. In fact, in US or Europe, a holiday is a holiday and a vacation is a vacation. Employees in these countries will simply refuse to answer their phones or even respond to emails when they are on a vacation. And I have experienced this personally. But at the same time, they expect Indian employees who are kind of on vacation to respond immediately, even when they are in a wedding or on a vacation. The question is, why is this dichotomy? That is what we need to ask ourselves. Why are we treated like slaves? Don't we have a basic human rights? This is something that Indian companies, and especially the kind of local outfits of international companies, need to look at. The British have gone away in 1947. You can't expect to slave drive us even after that. Another aspect is that many interns in Indian companies are given crazy workload and unrealistic timelines and are humiliated during reviews. When they're young, these youngsters simply stand up to all this. It's only when they grow slightly older that they realize that they can't take this nonsense anymore. But then it's too late at that point in time to make a turnaround. In fact, after this unfortunate incident, EY's India chief, Rajiv Memani, has said that the firm attaches the highest importance to the well-being of employees. He said he would like to affirm that the well-being of our people, that is E&Y staff, is the topmost priority for him, and the personality champion in this objective is him. But then the question is, it may be a case of too little, too late. And not just E&Y. Again, I'm not blaming E&Y for it. Any other consulting company in India, most of the international companies in India who are here do exactly the same. And Indian companies, domestic companies, are no better. You look at car salesmen, the kind of pressure they undergo, pharma sector, huge pressure to perform targets. On the other hand, you have government employees who get paid, who work or don't work. That is why a number of employees, number of students, or number of job seekers who go to government jobs is because of this. They see it as a matter of security. That is why you find hundreds and thousands of postgraduates applying for sweeper jobs in Haryana, as we saw recently, because they feel that that is better. They have a kind of a work-life balance, as we call it. Work-life balance is a kind of oxymoron in India. In fact, Anna's death isn't the first incident that brought India's work culture under scrutiny. In fact, October last year, if you remember, Infosys co-founder Narayan Murthy, who at one time said he'll switch off lights at 6 p.m. in the evening in his IT company, faced criticism for suggesting that young Indians should work 70 hours a week to boost the country's economic growth. Make them work. I have no issues if they are willing to work. Mr. Narayan Murthy, but pay them for it. Pay them for the overtime that they do. The question is whether that overtime work is actually quality work, or is it their efficiency kind of tapers down after 8 to 9 hours, as would happen with any human being. In fact, his views were backed by Ola's India chief Bhavesh Agarwal, who said he didn't believe in the concept of work-life balance. Because if you're enjoying your work, you will find happiness in life and work also. And both of them will be in harmony. Well, Bhavesh can speak about it because he's a billionaire many times over. But how many of his employees are billionaires? That's a question. If you're a billionaire, you can have anything that you want at home. You can have hundreds of helps to go around, do things for you. Who will go to the supermarket? Who will take your kid to the school? Who will run around for the errands? Who will go to the bank? All these things. Well, Mr. Bhavesh, you need to think. That is the thing which you say, but then how many of your employees draw the same kind of money that you make? That's a question. In fact, many employees, especially when they're young and unmarried, tend to use long hours as a badge of honor. I have seen this. They kind of say, oh, I work 16 hours a day. I work 18 hours a day. So my question is, I'm 60 plus, so I can tell you that I've seen this when I was young. But as I grew older, I realized there has to be some way of ensuring that you have a real work-life balance, that you have something at the end of the rainbow, and that's most important. In fact, I know many advertising executives in the industry when I was in Bangalore and then in Hyderabad who put in 18 hours at work and sleep on sofas, and they consider it as very normal. They keep a set of extra clothes at work so that they can refresh and again get back to work. The question is, one day it will all snap. And that's what happened to Anna. In fact, another industry where employees are asked to put in double shifts and long hours is the hospitality industry. I worked in that. I'm a hotel management student who worked in ITC and Taj. But the hotel industry simply has no choice but to make their employees work for long hours. In fact, that is one of the reasons why many hotel management graduates don't even enter the hotel industry after they complete their course. They get into some other service sector because they see the kind of hours they have to put in during the internships in the kitchen or in the F&B service or even in the front office or housekeeping is long. That is considered very normal to work for 12 hours or 14 hours. And of course, the labor department just turns its head the other way around. They don't even ask any questions. In fact, what troubles the hotel industry is that the top end, the top line is stopped growing. There's a limit to which you can charge the room rates and F&B. And today, people have become smart to understand they can go elsewhere, which is why you see more of OYO rooms and other things coming up. Value for money is a question. So employees in the hotel sector are expected to put in long hours on weekends and holidays. Well, that's a norm. When everybody is enjoying, you're working. And when you are stopped working, you have a holiday or you have a off that day, everybody is working. That's how it is. In fact, in 2022, Shantanu Deshpande, the founder of Bombay Shaving Company, which again is looked up as an example, asked youngsters to stop cribbing about working hours and suggested new recruits should be prepared to work for 18 hours a day in the first 4 to 5 years in their career. I sort of agree with him, but that 18 hours is not there. What can a human body take? Why do most of the accidents happen on highways and even on the Hyderabad Outer Ring Road or many of the roads across the country? Is because the drivers who drive those cars are made to work that many long hours. And then at some point in time, around 3 in the morning, the body just dozes off. Same thing happens for an employee who's working at a desk. And this is what we need to look at. First 4 or 5 years, I agree, they need to really work to show their career. But then you get once they go and burn out, then you get a new crop of people and they do exactly the same. You push them, again they burn out, again you get a fresh career. In India, population is so huge, and MBA students are so huge. Engineers are available by the lakhs. So you can do whatever you want. Companies can do whatever they want. They can get new interns, push them, make them burn out. Those who survive will go up the ladder. Those who will not survive are thrown out. In fact, last week, PSU Bank announced the recruitment of interns to offset the pressure on the senior employees. This happened exactly as the EY incident happened. Maybe it's a coincidence. But one of the main clauses mentioned in the recruitment of this PSU Bank was that the interns, employees, they don't call them employees, the interns will not have to do overtime. Imagine, that is one of the things they put in as a carrot for the new interns who are going to come in. But mental health experts and labor right activists say that such demands are unfair and put employees under immense stress. That is the long hours at work. In fact, in her letter, Anna's mother alleged that her daughter had experienced anxiety and sleeplessness soon after she joined EY. Her reporting manager may have been a kind of a demon for her. And that's what happens. Many managers, in fact, have a thrill in pushing their employees and going telling the bosses and making those presentations in the boardroom saying, I saved this much of money for the companies because what was supposed to be done by 10 people, I got it done by 5 people. And they get a medal for that. It's time companies stop doing this. Every manager is responsible for the well-being of his staff below him. And if they don't, then they need to go and not the employees. In fact, the hue and cry of Anna's death will see many Indian companies bringing back a change of work culture. There'll be a lot of new things that will come up, buddy system, counseling centers and all that kind of stuff. But all that will be short-lived. And in a few months, everything go back to the good old ways. 18 hours workday, slave driving, and all that goes with it. And that's a sad fact of life in India. Because life in India is cheap. That's what many feel. We are 140 crore population, so even if 10 crores get knocked off, it's not going to make a major difference. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind.